Okay. Shrutismrutipurāṇānaṁ ālayam karuṇālayam namāmi bhagavatpāda Shankaram lokashankaram samastajanakalyaṇe niratam karuṇāmayam namāmi chinmayam devam sadgurum brahmavidvaram Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat krupatamaham vande paramanandamadhavam Namah Shri Shankarananda Gurupadambujanmane Savilasamaha moha grahagrasaika karmani. So in the last class, we have come up to the state where we said that love that we see for ourselves is expressed through our own idea in terms of that let me not die, let me live on forever. Yeah. So this is what normally our feelings are, and this is how the people continue to operate in daily life. Yeah. So we said this is to prove that Sat Chit Ananda aspect. Sat and Chit we have already established in terms of that it is a Nitya and it is Satya. Satya means existent and Nitya eternal. Yeah, that the consciousness that is there. And how did we do that? We have analyzed the three states that are there of waking, dream, and deep sleep. And based on that, we said that this particular consciousness which is there, enlivening our mind, that we experience this particular world through the thoughts. So the entire experience that we have is only in the form of thoughts, and the thought is possible to be recognized by me as a I that is there is always through the consciousness, and this consciousness is ever existing not only today, tomorrow, but across the kalpas, across the many janmas. That is how we have established, or Swamiji has established to say that the consciousness which is I is ever existing, that is Nitya, and also Satya, the existence aspect. How do I know? Our own experience, if you see, is always and was always that I am and I know I am. Nobody needs to tell me that I am there, and nobody needs to tell me that I know I am. It's not that somebody else is telling you exist, so I know I am existing. No, I myself know very well that I exist, and I also know that I am existing. So the knowing aspect is the consciousness that we are talking, and that the fact that I am is the existence aspect which is there. And this particular existence aspect does not change in our life right now. I may not remember previous janma, etc. Although some of the masters, as I mentioned, do say that they remember. Yeah, and there are many even living who actually remember that. And if you Google a bit on terms of the early remembrances of previous lives, there are so many recorded even now. Yeah, and accepted by many doctors as well. That this is a phenomena which baffles the current scientists, so to say. So once he established that the existence and chit, that means the sat and chit aspects are already established, but a bit more difficult is the Ananda aspect. That is the joy aspect, because I don't normally feel the happiness on a continuous basis. So in order for me to have this feeling of happiness also is my nature, the thing what here, the logic that Swamiji uses is that anybody uh, who feels the joy is linked to how much I love that particular thing or person, really speaking. Yeah. As long as the thing or person is giving me happiness, that or the joy, I'll continue to love that particular person. And the moment it actually reduces that in terms of this, then automatically I cease to love that particular thing. Yeah. And this, he says, even for the God and Guru, this particular thing is applicable. In the sense that only when that particular person or thing continues to give me joy, I continue to love. And here he uses this particular concept which we experience on day-to-day basis and try to establish to say that if I love certain thing, as far as I am concerned, I not only love, he uses the word as Parama Premaspadam. Parama Premaspadam is that my love for myself is unconditional. My love for everything else, anybody else, is conditional in a way, but love for my own thing is unconditional. Love for myself is unconditional, and this unconditional love is expressed through the feeling that every one of us take through, like, I may never cease to exist, may I be there forever. That is how we operate in this world. So he says, since you love yourself so much, you must be of nature of joy. That is the expectation in terms of, that is the tarka. That is the logic that Swamiji is establishing to say that I feeling which is there in you is also there because you love yourself unconditionally. And we said that if how to, then some of them may say that people commit suicides, etc. If everybody loves themselves so much unconditionally, Parama Premaspadam, why they should commit suicide? Again, if you really see the I feeling, when people who commit suicide go to that lens as such, that happens only because they see I different from your body and mind. And the conditions that are around that particular that body and mind are in such a way that they feel that that body and mind are not supporting me in terms of enjoying this world. Only then that extreme step is taken by me, so that body, if they drop, they feel that in the next janma maybe things will be better. So in such a case, only people resort to that type of a step. This is not really related to exceptions like people with mental attitude issues, etc. They are slightly different. Yeah. So this is how he actually is trying to prove that the joy is also intrinsic to my nature. Yeah. That is eternal, unconditional love for myself proves that I, the consciousness, is of the nature of existence and eternal bliss. This is the logic which he brings in to say that you are that particular aspect and your nature is also inclusive of the joy. In verse 9, actually it is just a confirmation of what I have mentioned now. I will just read that. Yeah. Tat prematmarthamanyatra naiva manyarthamatmani atastat paramantena paramanandatatmanaha. So, anyatra tat prema, that love shown for the other people, he says, atmartham, for serving my own interest and happiness. This is very, very in a way, he doesn't mince words, yeah, because this is what we normally hear in this world among the families, among the people whom we say that I love you so much that I am ready to die for you, kind of a thing. These dialogues we are used to hearing. But here he says that anyatra tat prema, that love shown for the others, atmartham, for serving my own interest and happiness, tat paramam, that self-love is supreme. Na evam anyartham, is not for the others, atmani, the love seen in the self, ataha, therefore, tat paramam, that love is the self, love in self is supreme, tena paramanandataha. For that reason, it is of the nature of highest bliss, atmani, the self. So he's a kind of he's telling again the same thing, that the love that we express for others is always linked to the love that I have for myself. Again, it is another way of putting what we said, that we always love others till they give us happiness. The moment they stop giving you happiness, the love diminishes. And we see this in the world again and again in so many ways. Yeah. Once the love diminishes, the happiness that is associated with that relation also comes down very, very quickly. Um, this unity that is there, yeah, uh, this consciousness principle that we talk about, yeah. This is, sorry, I'm getting a call there. Okay. So the love that we are expressing for ourselves is the one which actually is shown through the others, which the love that we have for others is only another expression of the love we have for ourselves, is how the Swamiji is putting here. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on this, please? This Ananda aspect, how we are, how the yukti or the logic is being brought about? Okay.
Okay, we are supposed to love and see this consciousness everywhere, outside also, in all creatures, universally. So that means if we love ourselves, we are loving others too.
In a way, you are correct, but at this stage, that aspect is not being talked about by Swamiji. Yeah, this is purely a logic that is being given to prove that Jivatma that we are talking about, because I am talking about when I analyze my waking state, my dream state, my deep sleep state, I am actually only talking about myself as Jivatma, uh, the experiences that I go through. And in that, I have established that all these experiences are not possible without that consciousness which supports all the three states, because memory aspect is there. So I am able to understand that my nature is of that of Sat, that is existence, and Chit, which is of consciousness. What we are telling is, but if you want to compare the Jivatma with Ishvara or Paramatma Aikyam, this is what we are really looking at, that me is same as that of Paramatma, is what the Shastras are telling me. Then I must also establish I am of the nature of joy. So that particular aspect is being brought about by Swamiji here only to that extent, that Jivatma is also of the nature of Anand.
Okay.
Or the bliss. How he is trying to prove that is through our regular experience once again. In this world, the only way I can establish my nature is of that supreme love or bliss, is he is linking that no bliss is possible uh, unless, sorry, no love is possible unless a bliss is there associated with that. In the sense, If I love a object, a sweet, for example, then that sweet should give me happiness. Then only I love it. So, and person also, as long as that person gives me joy, my love will be there, sustained in that sense. But the moment that particular bliss is missing, my love will not be there. So here, what he is trying to say is, although you may not feel that you are of that particular nature of joy, but since you love your love for yourself is unconditional. Love for myself is unconditional, because at the cost of everything else, I would like to survive. I would like to continue existing. So love for myself is supreme in that sense. And all my love for, whether it is guru or whether it is a family, whether it is friends, whether it is this, are all limited to that aspect. When that love, that joy diminishes, my love also diminishes. So that since you love yourself so much, you should be of nature of supreme bliss. Next, we will go into then why I am not feeling it. The whole reason for this samsara, Swamiji will establish, is to say that is because of that ignorance of that nature of this bliss. Despite knowing that you are loving yourself supremely, so you must be of nature of joy, but you don't feel that. So that is where he will now bring it, the entire samsara, the reason for going about that particular.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but you are right in the sense that a jnani, for example, once he recognizes this particular aspect of joy as in my nature or his nature or her nature, automatically he will see the same nature, because already it is established. As far as existence is concerned, consciousness is concerned, it is not really limited to individual. A master will already know that the same consciousness actually is supporting the entire world, entire jiva. So the moment he establishes that joy is also of nature, joy also becomes permeates to everybody, and then the recognition will be there, that that particular joy will be there in seeing everybody, interacting with everybody, and also experiencing everybody, everything. In fact, not only everybody, everything. You will see only joy in the existence of a master.
Thank you.
Okay, verse 10 we will read. Yeah. Itham satchit parananda atma yuktya tatha vidham param brahma tayos chaikyam shrutyanteshu upadishyate. So yukta, that is the reasoning. Yukti, we have already told. Yeah. Ityam satchit parananda. So he is now established, he says, that itham satchit parananda. In this manner, itham means in this manner. In this manner, Atma is of the nature of existence, consciousness, and bliss. These three aspects are part of me. Through reasoning, it is already established, he says. Yeah. Tathavidam, in the same nature, Param Brahma, that is the Supreme Self, Tayos Chaikyam, that oneness of Jiva and Brahman. Tayos Chaikyam, Aikyam means oneness. Tayos Chaikyam, that oneness between those two. What are the two? We are now talking about Jivatma and Paramatma. Is Tayos Chaikyam Shrutyante. Through scriptures, Supadishyate, is also made known to us. In the sense, if you really see what he is trying to say here is, through yukti, through reasoning, we have now established that my nature, let us not talk about consciousness, jiva, my nature is of Sat Chit Ananda. Yeah, that is very clear to as far as the yukti is concerned. But through Upanishads, we know that Brahman is also of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda. How do we know? Many Upanishads have actually mentioned that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, that Ananta aspect is nothing but Ananda, we have seen. Yeah. So at a what you call it, a individual level, we we experience this Atman as Sat Chit Ananda. That is what we said. Yeah. But at a Ishvara level, if you see, at a Samashti level, the Brahman is always defined as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Satyam Jnanam. Jnanam is the knowledge. Knowledge is nothing but awareness. The very aspect because of which the experience of the experience of the knowledge that we gain is there. Means without consciousness, there is no way one can gain the knowledge, so to say. It is not the gaining of the knowledge in the secular sense. Not that today I try to learn swimming, for example. So I gain the knowledge of swimming first by talking to people as to how to go about learning the backstroke and front stroke or whatever strokes that are there, and try to learn that by going into the pool, for example, and learning how to do this is how the knowledge of the swimming aspect we will gain. Yeah? But here, what we are talking of is that very consciousness because of which all the knowledge in the world is possible. And that is the jnanam that we are talking about. It is not that we are gaining knowledge of Ishvara as an object. That knowledge because of which everything is possible. That is what Upanishads actually tell us. So the eyes which are there are able to see, but I want to know what makes the eye see. I know because of the ears, I can hear the sound. When I say hear the sound, I can gain the knowledge of the sound, but I would like to know because of which the ear is able to function and gain that knowledge. So in that sense, the consciousness that we are talking about becomes the jnanam at a samashti level, at a overall level that we are talking. And that particular samashti aspect which is being brought here says that particular aspect is known as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma at a samashti level, at a totality level. At an individual level, we refer to the same thing as Satyam, truth I already mentioned, is eternally existent, means not for a long time existing, but that existence of Satyam is very time is under the control of that particular Satyam. Not that I exist between a particular date of birth and date of death, and that particular thing is pretty long, like a life of a mountain. We are not really referring to that. Here we are talking of that Nitya as that Nitya, Kutastha Nitya. Very time is a result of that particular Satyam. That is the Brahman that we are talking about. Slightly difficult concept to gain that, but we need to do certain mananam, contemplation on that particular aspect. Yeah, like jnanam, what we mentioned. Similarly, kalam or the time is also that particular aspect we need to for contemplate on, to say that once I say that it is pura, it is for a long time existing, automatically we think about what will be there before that. That question will automatically come. So here we are telling something which is beyond time is what is referred to as the Nitya or the Satyam here. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Now, why that Anantam can become Ananda aspect at the individual level is to say that if I am everything, yeah, if I am everything, then I don't crave for anything. Suppose I am the Chakravarti or the emperor of this entire world. Whatever is there in this world is owned by me. Whatever is there is nobody to question that. Imagine such a power which is there in this particular universe. Then for such a person, there is nothing to desire for. Because whatever desire is already there, included in his powers, included in his reign. Then for such a person, there is nothing to desire for, and hence there is no desire. There is no question of gaining something and having a joy. The infinity aspect of Brahman is like that. So, for example, even when we offer a Naivedyam to the Lord at the end of puja, you offer it to the Lord. Lord doesn't take it away. Yeah. If it start disappearing, you will stop offering the complete thing. You may give half of it and keep half because you don't know whether he will leave it or not. Yeah. But he cannot take it anywhere because he is everywhere. Where can he take it? So it is left behind as prasad for us. That Naivedyam that we are offering is left as a prasad for us because he is infinite. So from that aspect, if you see that Ananda aspect is full contentment. When everything is owned by me, there is no desire that I have for any specific. I may have a desire for using a specific aspect, but gaining aspect is completely absent in such a condition. Yeah. So this Ananda aspect reflecting in totality, we don't call it as bliss, but we call it as infinite nature of that particular Brahman. Doesn't matter, but all these Upanishads also refer to the aspect of Ishvara as Satchitananda, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And through Yukti, here Swamiji is telling, he has established Jiva is also of Satchidananda nature. So since our natures are same, we must be one and the same. That Aikyam that we are talking about, that oneness, Paramatma Aikyam, Para Atma. Para is the one which is beyond, or Paramatma. Atma is individual Jiva. They are one and the same. Paramatma Aikyam is what the Swamiji has established here as the through Yukti. Yeah? And the, when we establish anything, if you are establishing a new theory, for example, in our Shastras, uh, the pramana for establishing the truth as far as the Upanishad is concerned, yeah, because what happens is in Sanatana Dharma, we have this uh, tradition all through that you may be a big master accepted by millions of people, for example, but anybody else who comes in can also have their opinion in a different way. That is the reason why we have so many philosophies accepted and so many masters who have come in. Question might come as to, then how do I decide which master is the right, which master is not right? That is through Shravanam that one has to do, and whatever appeals to the one at that particular given time, whether it is Dvaitam or Advaitam, one will decide. So if suppose Advaita falls into something which is very difficult for people to grasp at a given time in their life, yeah, for them, it makes it easy to go into a Dvaita aspect. In the sense that I can imagine myself and as a Bhakta and that Ishvara as Ishvara, and I'm very happy praying, telling that I am nothing, you are everything. Yeah? It is also accepted in Advaita Vedanta as a stepping stone. The expectation is over a period of time, you will recognize, you will realize through the teachings, also through your own experience, that what is being taught by the masters like Swami Chinmayananda is not beyond the thinking process at least. That is where the yukti comes in. The idea to say that that Brahman is described as the all-knowing, all-powerful, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, etc. All these big adjectives that we use for Ishvara, how can I, the Jiva, be that particular omniscient, omnipotent, omnipowerful, all-powerful Ishvara? That doubt will always come to a person who is on a seeker, who is just on the path. That doubt will always come. So for that particular level of seeker, duality is accepted as a stepping stone. Makes it easy first to establish. First it will start with Saguna Upasana. Means there will be an idol. I will be praying to the idol. And then, like Swami Chinmayananda says, if idol is the one which I am praying, then I must be foolish but I'm actually praying to the idealism beyond that, what it represents. A beautiful example he gives is, you stand in front of the country's flag, you are a patriotic person, obviously, and when the national anthem is going on, you will salute. It's not that we are saluting a piece of cloth. What we are saluting, what we are very emotional about, is the concept of nation that flag represents. Similarly, the idol that we are praying should be established as that particular representation of that Ishvara Shakti beyond. And this particular concept will automatically come. When you are a child, you will believe that this particular flag and piece of paper and a pole, themselves you are actually saluting. And that particular thing is there. Even when you grow up, you continue to respect the flag. You don't say that flag is, and if somebody disrespect flag, there are laws and this one to even punish people, even to this date, whatever the age, for example. But really speaking, it is not the piece of cloth with certain colors that we are really looking at. It is the concept of the nationhood which it represents that is more important. You will automatically recognize that. Yeah? Similarly, when we talk about this Jivatma and Paramatma, what we need to understand is this concept of Ishvara, which is beyond what this particular thing is representing. That is what really I am aiming at. That recognition, once it comes, automatically the dualism that is there will drop, and from Dvaita, one is expected to move to Advaita. And this is, and how it is coming, first is to Yukti, and second will be the Shabda Praman, which is there, which is coming from Upanishad. So whenever you are establishing a truth, first is it should not be in contravention to what the Upanishads are telling. If Upanishad is stating something, maybe the understanding I need to establish, but it should not be something which is contrary to what Upanishads are telling. And second thing is, it should not be beyond my own intellectual understanding. So establishing a fact through Yukti is one of the very important steps in Advaita Vedanta. That is why Swamiji is here trying to establish, to say that Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam, what we talk about, when Jivatma, yourself, you are same as that Paramatma of the nature of Satchit Ananda, is a very important step that Swamiji has established here. There was one book, Advaita Makaranda. I don't know whether has anybody taken that, Advaita Makaranda, by Lakshmidhara Kavi till now? Okay, very wonderful book. It's a very, very small text which is there, and Guruji has written excellent commentary, obviously, on that particular, this one, Advaita Makaranda. And why I am talking about that Advaita Makaranda, it has got very close relationship, or the way it follows is exactly like this. So there Lakshmidhara Kavi also establishes first Satchidananda aspect of the Jiva, and he says, because you are of nature of Satchidananda, you are that Ishvara. So similar concept is followed there as well. So what I'm trying to say is, this is not very unique to Swami Vidyaranya, but Vidyaranya, remember, is of some 14th century, 13th century. Lakshmidhara Kavi is a very recent one, maybe around 18th century, 19th century. He was from Orissa, this Lakshmidhara Kavi. But the way to establish this, I think, is there in our many masters who have done that. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, but that's a very, very excellent book, that Advaita Makaranda. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now the question obviously will come. Yeah, for us, if I am of that nature, for example, and if I also of the nature of Satchit Ananda, why is that I am not recognizing that myself as Ishvara? That question should always come to us. Yeah. So by yukti, by logic, I have already established myself and Ishvara are of the same nature. That should be end of the teaching, so to say. But the reason for samsara should be there. Why that particular fact then is not right now, it is a knowledge. How will it become my wisdom? Wisdom is something when I get up in the morning, for example, in this life, nobody need to tell me I am a male. Nobody need to tell me I am a human being. Yeah. Nobody need to tell me after a period of time that my wife is Manjula. Even without anything, these things are my knowledge without any instrument, so to say. Yeah. I don't require to every day get up and look at myself in the mirror and then say, okay, I am a male. I know I'm a male. The moment whether I sleep, whether I get up, that particular concept is very, very clear to me without any instrument. I don't require to use my eyes. I don't require to use my mind. It is there in me as a established knowledge. So when we talk about this Satchidananda, the right now the yukti has only given me a knowledge as far as the mind is concerned, but that particular thing has not become a wisdom where that is very clear to me without using instruments. Right now I am using my mind, I am using my intellect, and I also used in fact my causal body analysis to establish that I am the nature of Satchidananda. But how will it turn into the wisdom? And also why that is not as part of my wisdom? See, if I'm able to establish myself as this human being, male or female, etc., whatever adjectives I am using, similar one, if my very nature is Satchidananda, it should be clear to me. So he is now trying to establish the very reasons for the samsara or jivatvam. Why it is important? For me to establish this wisdom, I should know as to why I am feeling this way. Why I feel that I'm still a individual who is very limited compared to that Ishvara, despite being of similar nature. He is now from verse 11, he will bring that aspect of reasons for this samsara or the jivatma for us to understand, and then take us through the aspect of how we can overcome that particular limitation and how we turn this knowledge into the wisdom. Yeah? By the end of this chapter, that is where he will take us through. So 11th verse we will read. Abhanena param prema bhanena vishayasruha ato bhanepya bhatasau paramanandatatmanah. Abhanena param prema bhanena vishayasruha ato bhanepya bhatasau paramanandatatmanah. So here he is again trying to say that we cannot have supreme love for unknown objects. See, if suppose I don't know somebody, I have never heard about Mr. John living in Mexico, then I cannot have a supreme love for that particular person. Yeah. Abhane na param prema. Without, we cannot have that supreme love for unknown objects. Abhane is unknown. Unknown objects we cannot have param prema. Bhane, that means if we fully know, vishaya na spruha. So we would not have gone after the external objects. Vishaya na spruha. Means I will not chase after the external objects if I know that fully. Bhane, if I know that particular aspect very fully, this one, we are talking of now consciousness aspect which is there. If I know that consciousness fully, that my nature is of Satchit Ananda, for example, then I will be very happy with myself. I will not be running after the objects for the happiness. But here what we are doing, ataha, therefore, bhane prabhatyaso, although known, it is not totally known. Means only when a partial knowledge is there of something, this particular problem is coming to you, that I am able to love myself. I know that my paraprema is there for myself. Unconditional love is there for myself. But how can I love something which I don't know? It appears so, huh? Because my nature, I am telling, established as Satchit Ananda, but I don't feel that. My nature is not of Satchit Ananda. I know for a fact that I'm going to die. I'm always worried this body will drop off. So I'm not existing in that sense in a Nitya way. Consciousness also, I feel it is very limited because I link the consciousness to my body and my body is limited. So I feel the consciousness is limited. I know this consciousness is linked to my mind. I know my mind is limited. Whatever extent that one may go, even if a highest in terms of physics, if you take somebody getting a Nobel Prize, for example, is treated as the best physicist in the world, for example. Yeah. But still, if you ask that physicist who got that Nobel Prize, he will say, as far as the knowledge of the world is concerned, it is very limited. In one particular field in physics, he must have achieved something. In particular field in medicine, he must have achieved something for which he is given a Nobel Prize. Only that person will know how much he knows and how much he doesn't know. Obviously, that must be the case because over a period of time, we see that every established theory is somebody else will come to say that is wrong and this theory is correct. And he will also get a Nobel Prize. The original guy also got a Nobel Prize for whatever he has taught. Somebody disproves it, he also gets a Nobel Prize. Is then the first one who got a Nobel Prize is a useless fellow? No, no, no. Because at that particular time, whatever he has established is good enough for a Nobel Prize, but somebody is using the knowledge that he has established to disprove him. That we say is an advancement in science. We don't say the first fellow is useless fellow. Yeah, that's not how the science functions. Science always learns from the previous, and that's why they say, the scientist always is the one who considers that he becomes a giant by climbing on shoulders of the giants. That type of a concept is there in. So we say that this particular scientist is so good, but I learned from him. Now I am trying to prove or disprove that particular person, so to say. Yeah. So this, if we are talking about Vishaya Spruha, that I am going after the objects, can only one reason be there, that I may not know myself, although I established myself to be of the nature of Satchidananda. It appears that I don't know myself totally. It appears that I have only a partial knowledge associated with that, and Paramananda Atmanaha, that supreme bliss of self, is not fully known to me. That appears to be the only reason why, although I have some idea of that vague idea of that particular aspect which is there, which is making me think that I am of Satchidananda theoretically, but practically I still run after the objects of the world for my happiness. All of us, yeah, whatever way we are trying to learn this, all of us still run after the objects for my happiness. I don't depend fully on myself for my happiness because I am of the nature of Satchidananda. Then, sorry, I don't require anything else. I stop preparing some food which is my favorite till yesterday. From tomorrow, I will stop taking it because I am happy with myself. Yeah. So this type of this one is very difficult for us. We still run after the objects despite establishing logically I am of the nature of Satchidananda. So he says that the full import is not appreciated by me, and that particular ignorance, that's why we call that particular aspect veiling. See, Mahamaya, what we say, has got two powers. One is the veiling power, which comes at the level of our Karana Sharira, is the first step where that veiling takes place. And we have seen that in our deep sleep, what we experience is that particular veiling, that ignorance that of my nature is what is there. But despite that veiling, the power of that consciousness cannot be suppressed, because the very consciousness is the reason why I exist. My mind, my intellect, my body, all of them are conscious because of that particular consciousness is what we have already established. But because of this veiling power of that Maya in between, that consciousness, although I am experiencing every day, I am not able to recognize that. And because it is not recognized, then why I am loving myself if that is the case? Because that consciousness is still there with you of that particular nature. Only your understanding of that import of that particular consciousness and the nature of that consciousness is missing from my life. So if Jiva is Brahma say, the samsara is there, what he is telling is that it is there because of this partial ignorance of the truth, and the total import of that Satchidananda is not available to Jivas at a given period of time unless you yourself become a realized master. Yeah, you take out that ignorance of that true nature, that is when you become the realized master. Yeah, and confusion that exists at every level. Yeah, because I refer to myself, for example, he is trying to establish to say that if I consider myself to be a mind, yeah, what the mind does? Mind has got emotions. It brings in it brings in different sensory perceptions from outside world through the five Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. We have seen that particular these ones are going into your mind, and mind, after analyzing this sensory perception based on my memory, the chitta aspect which is there in the mind, to support, I will then try to say that I will then try to say whether this is suitable for me, not suitable for me, this is good for me, not good for me, I like this, not like this. That raga dvesha with which we operate this particular mind automatically throws in that the six negative emotions and equally certain positive emotions. Yeah, anger, delusion, uh, jealousy, those are the six ones which we are talking about. Yeah. So these when these emotions come, if you are getting carried away with this emotion, what do I say? I immediately, if I recognize, I say I am angry. Don't talk to me now. I am very angry with you. Don't talk to me now. So I became angry. Means what? The angriness somehow got superimposed on the concept of I. And there is no difference between the I and the anger. They become one, and I become an angry person. I don't say I am angry. I am angry when I say there is no difference, no separation between the anger and me. And I can talk anything in that particular state. I may regret it later, but when that particular state exists, I can talk anything, I can do anything. We see that in many people, yeah, who get carried away with this emotion of what we call as the anger. So this, but at the same time, when I have gained control over my mind, what do I say? I automatically start recognizing and separate myself from this state of anger in my mind. Not only that, I start saying that seldom I get angry, but that particular time I could not control. Means what? I became separate from the concept, what we call emotion of the mind, which we call it as the anger. So the I say, at a moment when they mix together, the subject and object became one. I became a angry person. But the moment I am able to separate them out, the I becomes the subject and mind becomes the object. The moment I'm able to objectify my mind, what can I say? Mind is the inert one and I, the consciousness, is different from this emotion, which we refer to as the anger. Yeah. So the moment we objectify the mind, I become separate from the mind. This is the confusion every day we go through. Not on this is one emotion only. It can be very positive emotion. I love with my love for somebody, my love for food, my love for things. Uh, People get mad when they see a car which they were dreaming about is owned by them, fortunately, at a given time. When the car comes from that dealership, when that particular ownership comes, and you must see the people's, I have seen people getting so attached to that car. No difference between that person and the car. If a little dent comes on the car, dent has not come on the car, dent has come in the person's mind. They cannot accept that it is different from them. So this confusion of, but over a period of time, this car goes and some other model comes. What happened? Till yesterday, this car was so loving to you and you are one and the same with that car. But today again, your desire has gone to a next level. Electric Tesla car becomes my next love. Yeah. So here, that ahankara and mamakara. Ahankara is to say I, and mamakara, that love that is there for that particular object, used to that respect. It is all linked to the intellect aspect which is there. And moment we understand that this particular thing is there every time, that is the state when you have to say that I require to live and separate out from my emotional mind. And that is when we say that that ignorance that we are talking about, I am able to break. But what happens is we break that with very specific things. There are so many such attachments I need to work on. Yeah, if a guru comes and says about you are getting too much attached to this car, don't do this, it's not good for you, or you're too much getting attached to this particular emotion, don't do that, don't become angry. We may do that for that particular aspect, but there are so many things I have to work on. Yeah. So here what we are looking at is that I'm able to separate myself from this emotion and attachment associated with the emotions when it comes to mind. But with with body, it is a different type of attachment. With intellect, it is more of pride. If somebody hurts my pride, then I become very sad. If somebody boosts my by praising, it becomes a different activity. But once I start analyzing like this my entire life, in terms of my intellect, in terms of my mind, in terms of my body, I recognize the fact that this attachment is coming only because of the ignorance which is there. And that ignorance is not, unfortunately, it is not completely covering. For example, a cloud, when it comes, the sun is not completely covered. We may not see the sun, but we recognize I am able to see this cloud only because of the sun behind. In the night, I don't see the cloud. In the daytime, I'm able to see the cloud because sun is there behind. I may not see the sun, but I know that the sun is there behind, which is making me recognize. Here, similarly, that Satchidananda Atma somehow is being veiled. So, but I'm experiencing that only because of that I recognize somehow, and that is the reason I love myself very clearly. But at the same time, I am not able to see that I am still running around the objects, and that running around is bringing this superimposition, and my life is neither here nor there. I am running after the objects for joy. That joy will not remain with us. I am not able to attach myself to that particular Sachidananda, which I am able to establish intellectually, but that veiling is not allowing me to go this side. So I am always after the joy, which seems to be eluding us. So he will give a wonderful example in the next verse. We will go through in the next class. Yeah. I'll close the class, and if anybody have questions, they can stay. Others who want to drop can drop. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay. Anybody has any questions, please? All. So I will stop the recording now.